everyone, thanks for joining me on the webinar. If we haven't spoken before, I'm Beth and I'm part of the technical team here at Somerford Associates. So this is our third and final webinar of our Varonis SaaS webinar series. And what we're going to be looking at today is Varonis SaaS and how it can assist companies with their threat detection. So just a quick look at what we're going to go through. Firstly, we're going to go through a brief overview of who we are at Somerford Associates, just because some of you might not be familiar with us. We're going to do a brief overview of Varonis in general. I'm then going to touch on some of the threats out there and why we need to be monitoring activity in our data systems. After that, I'm going to go through some of the features of Varonis SaaS, which can help with your threat detection. And then I'm going to be able to show you just a quick look at the Varonis SaaS platform as well, just so you can actually take a look at the interface and get to see what it actually looks like. And then when we come to the end, I'll just mention our free data risk assessments that we offer with Varonis. So who are Somerford Associates? We're a leading provider of technology solutions and services, and we're also a certified platinum partner with Varonis. We're one of the go-to partners for expertise for some of the UK's largest companies. So that's across a range of different industries, and it's even for government agencies as well. So as consultants, we're very customer focused, and we understand both the business and information management challenges faced by organisations today. Our professional services team is comprehensively trained in every one of our solutions we offer, and they all work closely with our customers to try and meet their specific requirements. We do also have an in-house support desk for our customers to use as well. And usually any support cases that come through to our support desk, we do try solve these in-house, and most of these are solved in-house without the need to escalate these further to any of our vendors. So Varonis can help to monitor, protect and manage data. Quite often organisations struggle to know what's actually in their data stores and which of it is sensitive, especially when it comes to cloud data stores like Microsoft 365. And it can be very difficult to get a grasp of who actually has access to this, and is it just internal people, or could it be external people who are actually able to access sensitive documents as well. So if you're not too familiar with Varonis, just to briefly touch on what it can do as a whole first. So it looks at all of the data stored in your data repositories. So this could be your on-prem file shares, it could be data in Microsoft 365, it could be data in Salesforce or Google Drive, if you were using Varonis Advantage Cloud. So it takes a look at all of this data, and majority of what's stored in your data repositories is unstructured data. So that's like your documents, things like your spreadsheets and your files, that we don't know much about them, and we don't really know what employees are putting in them. And we don't actually often know who is actually accessing these and what are they doing with that data. So Varonis can help us to understand that. In addition, it also looks at the infrastructure that helps to access the information in the data stores. So it takes information from Active Directory or Azure AD, for examples, and it takes a note of those users and security groups in your environment. So all this information is then tied together. So specifically, we've got that information about the users and groups and their permissions pulled together so you can understand who has access to what data. So to add to this, Varonis can assist with remediating any overexposed data. So this really helps organisations when it comes to reducing any unnecessary exposure and overall reducing their blast radius. It can actually look at the content of your files, and it's able to determine whether these are sensitive or not, and actually identify what type of sensitive data exists within your file shares. So when you combine being able to identify which of the data is sensitive alongside monitoring user behavior and all of that access activity going on, then this can really assist businesses to ensure their compliance with things such as GDPR. Alerts can be issued on suspicious behaviour. Varonis has got built-in alert models, and it also employs user behaviour analytics, so it can start to understand what is normal behaviour for users and service accounts, and then it can alert on any behaviour which is deemed as unusual. And since the Edge module of Varonis has been developed, this means Varonis can monitor perimeter telemetry. So that's looking at DNS servers, web proxies, and VPN access. And then it's also monitoring that activity going on in Active Directory and Azure AD as well. So this really helps businesses when it comes to the threat detection. So to sum that all up, Varonis can help detect insider threats, account activities, and user behaviors, and help you gain visibility on what data is sensitive and ensure that it's locked down appropriately. So Varonis is now a SaaS host solution as well. So this means that getting Varonis set up and monitoring your environment, it's been made a lot quicker and easier now, and less infrastructure is required from the customer side as well. So why do we need to think about monitoring behavior that goes on within our business, and what actually are the threats out there? So one of the biggest threats posed to our data is the amount of increasingly successful cyber attacks. And, it's really not uncommon nowadays to hear about massive companies being hit by things such as ransomware attacks. There's something that can happen to any business, and every business holds crucial and sensitive data in their data systems nowadays. A common type of attack is a ransomware attack. So if you're not familiar with this, this is essentially where a cyber criminal manages to gain access to your data, and they could use a form of malicious software that will then encrypt and exfiltrate your documents and files, so you then would be unable to access these. And sometimes it can be the case that they can even stop you from accessing your backups as well. So it could mean that if this were to happen to your business, that operations could be brought to a halt essentially. So usually if you are hit by ransomware, you'll be then asked to pay a ransom payment to get your data back. And on top of that, they will probably threaten to expose and leak your data if you say you're not going to pay them. So for this to happen, it does mean that an intruder has somehow gained entry to your system and your network. So there are lots of common ways attackers can use to gain access, things like password spraying or spear phishing emails, I'm sure you've heard of. But these tactics, they seem to be becoming more and more clever and more sneaky. So if a company is hit by a cyber attack, what are the things we need to consider? For starters, it could actually take months before a breach is actually even noticed. And then after that, so once you actually have detected the breach, the security teams, they'll need to spend a lot of time investigating what has the intruder accessed, where have they been, what have they actually touched, and obviously this will be costing a lot of money and time for the business. So that's not even thinking about how much a cyber criminal might actually ask for if they've actually gone ahead and encrypted your data and you can't actually get it back. So, and by the way, it's not actually uncommon for businesses to be asked to give over millions of pounds to get their data back as well. These ransomware attacks, they ask for a massive amount of money often. So Varonis believes that security starts with the data, and we should be protecting it and locking it down best we can. So this way, it means if an attacker is to get in the environment, Varonis can help you prepare for the worst by helping you to understand where the sensitive data lives and making sure only the right people have access to that right data, and then alerting on any unusual activity or suspicious behavior. So how can Varonis help with threat detection and help prevent against internal and external threats? So Varonis, they're very proud to offer a platform that uses user behavior analytics. So this is really useful when it comes to looking at protecting that data and making sure that the right people are accessing it. But it's also very useful when it comes to alerts as well. So it's designed to provide you with meaningful alerts, and Varonis tries to avoid drawing in an overwhelming amount of alert noise. So Varonis monitors the activity going on in your data repositories. So, it's watching what employees are accessing and, what are they doing with that data and things like where in the world are they logging in from. And it can also monitor activity from perimeter telemetry, so your DNS servers, VPN and web proxies as well. But by employing this user behavior analytics, so whilst monitoring that user behavior, it means it's able to build up a profile on users and get to know what their usual behavior is. And then that means if any behavior which is out of the ordinary is detected, then this can be alerted on. So cyber criminals, they can have ways to gain access to company infrastructure, which can go undetected by the usual antivirus or anti-malware solutions. So even if businesses are using security information and event management systems, these are quite often they're monitoring events from systems rather than events from users. So it can still often go unnoticed that an intruder has actually gained access and is acting maliciously across the network. For example, if you had an intruder that were to use the technique of password spraying and successfully gain entry, it might appear just as a normal user to the IT department, monitoring them system activities. But this is exactly the scenario where user behavior analytics can really succeed, and it would be able to notify you of account access that might need investigating. So as well as UBA, user behavior analytics, it has another level of threat intelligence in its suite as well. So there are increasingly many ways and tools that attackers are using to compromise organizations' accounts and data. And Varonis has many predefined alert models built in to help detect and protect against these. Varonis has tools it uses alongside these models, such as dictionaries containing names of common hacker tools, which have been known to be used to gain access to the company's networks. Varonis can then raise an alert if one of these systems is being used. So some other examples of alert models would be encryption of multiple files, unreasonable geo-hopping. So that would be, say, if you had an employee logs on somewhere else in the world just right after they've logged in from America or something like that, which wouldn't be physically possible for them to get to another country. Or another example would be data exfiltration using DNS tunneling, is potentially being detected. And there's many more of these built-in alert models. So Varonis also issues updates to ensure the platform is up to date with the latest threat models. As these cyber attack techniques, they are forever changing. And like I said earlier, they're forever getting more clever. So, but as Varonis SaaS, it is connected to the Varonis cloud. So this means that these threat models can be kept up to date automatically. So we have a series of dashboards in the platform too. As you can see on the slide, we've got a useful alerts dashboard. So here you can see a summary of all the alerts, and there's various different panels to display different things such as top alerted users and devices, top threat models that you're seeing. So you can filter on what's displayed on the dashboard. So you're able to select and see alerts from a specific file server. You can filter as well on the level of severity of the alerts. If it was only like high severity alerts you were interested in. It's also really easy to navigate and investigate those alerts from the dashboards. From each of the panels, you're able to click and see more information about those threats, and you'll be able to see more information about the user as well that's triggered the alert. So as I was just saying, the alert investigation, it's very easy to dive deeper into the alerts and find out more information. It means you're able to really try and follow that trail of the attacker and investigate the activity and try and understand the path they took and what data was actually affected. If you have been breached, you'll quickly realize the scope of the attack and know exactly what files and data has been affected. So as I was just saying, Varonis, it enriches the alerts with more information. So this helps us to gain more context of what's actually been happening. So this is really an important tool because you need to sort of consider how quickly you might need to investigate these alerts, and you might actually need to report on this to, you know, the relevant management and authorities and potentially governing bodies as well. So all of this information, it can be pulled into reports from the Varonis interface too, which is really handy. And from the alerts, you can see more information about the events as you can dive deeper into the alert details. So you can see things such as if the account has triggered any other alerts recently, what type of account the user's got. So is this like a privileged account or an admin account, and whether the data that's been accessed is actually sensitive data. So just to mention as well with Varonis SaaS, so because it's also because it's connected to the Varonis cloud, you do get an extra level of security. This means so Varonis's team of cybersecurity experts, so they call these guys the Varonis Incident Response Team. They're going to be able to have eyes on your alerts at all times. So this means if they spot something that looks like it could be really serious and it's urgent, then they'll get in contact with the customer to let them know that they think something suspicious is going on in your environment. So I'm just going to quickly show you the interface. Let me just get my demo environment up. Just give me a minute. So this is just to quickly show you a look at the interface, just because some of you might not have seen it before. If any of you are familiar with Varonis self-hosted, it's a very similar looking interface. Essentially, it's just been modernized and it looks a little bit nicer now. So, and there's a few extra features that go on that can be used in here as well. But we're obviously looking at the alerts today. So when you first open Varonis, you do land on the dashboards page, and you can see we've got this alerts dashboard here. So we've basically got a summary of information about our alerts. So you can see we've got alerts over time, and we've got top alerted threat models, top alerted devices here, top alerted users. And if you scroll down, there is more panels below here as well. So you can see a geolocation information and that sort of thing. You can filter on the dashboards as well. I did mention this briefly on the slides. So you're able to select which file server, because it could be that you're only actually interested in looking at events from a certain file server, and you can alter that level of severity as well if you wanted to. You can find out more information about the alerts from here. So if I take a look at Alan Carey here, so he is one of our top alerted users. And it might be the case that I just want to find out a bit more information about Alan. So we're going to click on View Alerts. So you can see we've got a list here of all the alerts which have been triggered by Alan. And I'm just going to click on one of these. So if I click on this here, activity from blocklisted geolocation, you're going to see this is where it gives me that more information about the account. So we can see here that, you know, Alan's account is a privileged account. So it's North Korea, we can see. We're also able to see that he has not triggered any alerts in the past 7 days, so that is a good sign. But basically, this page here is to help security officers to know whether basically they need to be investigating the alert further, or perhaps do we think it's not really a cause for concern. So that concludes the quick look at the interface. Let me just get you guys the slide deck back up again. Just give me a moment. So just before we come to the end of the webinar, I just want to mention our free data risk assessments which we offer. So a data risk assessment is a free assessment of your own cloud apps and Windows on-prem file shares that Varonis and Somerford can provide. So many organizations are not aware of how much data in the cloud is sensitive, or data in their on-prem file shares which is sensitive, and who's got access to this and what activity is actually going on within there. So from the report, you'll get to specifically know where some of your weaknesses are, and it'll make recommendations for minimizing your risks, and you'll get to know what type of alerts have been triggered to within the risk assessment period. So it's really easy to get set up with a DRA. Essentially, this is where a Varonis SaaS tenant is linked up with your data stores, and then it'll watch your environment and be able to see who's accessing what, and where is your sensitive data, and what activity has been going on within there. So throughout the data risk assessment period, you'll have access to the Varonis incident response team. So if a real life attack comes up during your risk assessment period, they're going to work with you to recognize and remediate that real attack. So as I mentioned, the assessment, it's entirely free, and because Varonis is now a SaaS hosted solution as well, it's really quick and easy to get it set up, and monitoring your data and your activity. So if you are interested in Varonis, it really does make sense to take advantage of getting a free data risk assessment, so you can really see the value that Varonis can provide you with. So if this is something you're interested in, please do get in contact with us and we can look at getting something set up for you. So you can email us at info@somerfordassociates.com, or you can register for a DRA on the Somerford Associates website and someone will get back to you. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. So we haven't had any questions come through, but if you do have any questions, you can pop us an email on. That email is info@somerfordassociates.com. So that's it for me now, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and bye for now.